Today, we expose 10 energy drinks sold in Australia that have no business anywhere near your bloodstream or your kid's lunch bag. Because right now, there are cans in Aussie fridges pushed right up against the legal caffeine limit, and inspectors have already caught imports on our shelves with almost double what the law allows in a single can. This isn't a bit of extra pep. Its dose is powerful enough that food regulators had to step in and pull nearly 700 drinks off sale in South Australia alone. You've been sold a comforting story. You're tired, you're stressed. Just crack a can, grab some wings, and suddenly you're super productive again. The ads make it look like coffee in a can with vitamins, sugar, and fun flavors, a harmless upgrade on a flat white. But here's the part almost nobody reads on the label. Under Australia's own food standards code, these formulated caffeinated beverages are only legal if they stay under 320 ml of caffeine per litre, no more than 32 ml per 100 ml, and they must carry a warning that they're not suitable for children, pregnant or breastfeeding women, or people sensitive to caffeine. Despite that, South Australian health officers still found imported cans with up to 300 milliliters of caffeine in just 473 ml, a concentration that works out at almost twice the legal limit for energy drinks here. So this isn't a maybe one day problem. It's already happened in real shops to real people, and even when the numbers technically stay inside the rules, the game is the same. Most big-name cans are formulated right on the edge of what's allowed, plastered with tiny warnings, and then pushed in 2-for-1 deals that dare you to ignore the fine print and slam more than one. So let's break down the 10 energy drinks and product types that should set off alarm bells every time you see them. Number 1 is the can almost everyone has grabbed at a servo on a long, lonely drive. Number 1. Monster-style 500 ml maxed-out cans. Monster Energy Type 500 ml cans are the poster child for the big can energy drink. Global data shows a 500 ml Monster contains about 160 ml of caffeine, which works out to 32 ml per 100 ml, exactly the Australian legal maximum concentration for an energy drink. On the surface, it's just a big can of energy, with flavors and branding aimed at gamers, tradies, and night shift workers. Underneath, it's a delivery system that quietly gives you 2 entire 250 ml energy drinks in one hit. So why is that a problem if it's still technically legal? Because Food Standards Australia New Zealand notes that about 400 mg of caffeine per day is around the upper safe intake for most healthy adults. And energy drinks are meant to be consumed sparingly on top of other sources like coffee, tea, and cola. One 500 ml Monster style can get you to roughly 40% of that daily limit in a single go before you've even counted your morning coffee. The label suggests a boost. The numbers look more like a fast track to jittery hands, racing heart, and wrecked sleep if you stack it with anything else caffeinated. If you've ever downed one of these on an empty stomach just to get through an exam, a shift, or a late-night drive, you've felt that wired then crash pattern. And if you think one big can is bad, number 2 shows what happens when a brand aims the same level of caffeine squarely at everyday supermarket shoppers. Number 2, Mother Energy Original 500 ml. Mother-style energy drinks are classic Aussie petrol station and supermarket cans. Huge 500 ml formats, bright colours, constantly on promo in Woolies and Coles fridges. They're marketed as local, familiar alternatives to international giants. With that, we're one of you feel. But the caffeine strategy is identical. Like other standard big cans, a 500 ml Mother-style drink is typically formulated right up near that 32 ml per 100 ml ceiling, delivering roughly 160 ml of caffeine per can. Regulators allow that concentration, but only on the condition that cans carry advisory statements and people follow the daily maximums printed on pack. How many people actually read or obey that fine print when 2 for $6 promos are stacked at the front of the fridge? The branding suggests an everyday pick-me-up, almost like grabbing a larger soft drink. The reality is a controlled dose stimulant that only just stays inside the legal line, then relies on you not stacking 2, 3, or 4 across your day. If you've ever grabbed 2 big cans on special because it's cheaper, you've already pushed yourself into the caffeine zone, where health authorities start warning about anxiety, palpitations, and sleep disruption for many people. And if supermarket standard brands can get this aggressive within the rules, number 3 is where things start to tip into the grey zone. Number 3, V-Energy 500 ml and jumbo sizes. V-Energy is one of Australia's most recognisable energy drinks. The green cans are everywhere, from uni vending machines to Bunnings fridges. Most people think of it as a slightly stronger soft drink with some guarana thrown in. But when you scale V up to the 500 ml and jumbo formats, the caffeine maths gets ugly fast. Under Australian rules, caffeine from all sources, including guarana, has to stay under 320 ml per litre for formulated caffeinated beverages. That means a 500 ml can legally hold up to around 160 mg of caffeine and still comply, and that's exactly where these products tend to sit. The problem is not the concentration on its own. It's how easy it is to forget that this is a concentrated stimulant, not a flavoured soft drink. The marketing suggests fun, colour and V-Energy to get through the Arvo slump. But when a single can contains as much caffeine as 2 small energy drinks or a strong coffee, it stops being a casual choice and starts being a serious dose. If you've ever had one at lunch and another at 3 p.m, you're brushing right up against the 400 mg daily safe limit FSANZ highlights for adults, and far above what's considered appropriate for teens. And if mainstream Aussie brands are already maxing out the legal design, number 4 shows what happens when global giants supersize their cans for our shelves. Number 4, Red Bull big can formats. Red Bull's 250 ml can has become the standard reference point for energy drinks worldwide. That classic can contains about 80 mg of caffeine, the same ballpark as a cup of instant coffee, and right on the typical Aussie energy drink spec. On its own, in that size, it sits within what many experts consider moderate, occasional use for adults. The problem starts when the can size creeps up. International data shows that 355 ml and 473 ml Red Bull cans can deliver around 110–150 ml of caffeine per can, depending on volume and formulation. Still inside Australia's per 100 ml limit, but now in a serving that nudges close to 2 small energy drinks in one go. If those formats are sitting in Aussie convenience fridges, and you're treating them like just one drink, you're quietly doubling what most people think of as a single serve. The branding says, gives you wings. The numbers say, gives you a serious hit, especially if you're smaller, caffeine-sensitive or mixing it with alcohol, which Australian health agencies warn against. Many people assume the big can is just more liquid, not realizing the caffeine climbs right alongside it. And if that's what mainstream energy looks like when it plays by the rules, number 5 is where the system gets actively bent. Number 5, illegally strong imported mega cans, 300 millilitres in 473 ml. Here's where the illegal caffeine levels exposed part becomes literal. In 2024, South Australian authorities conducted an enforcement blitz on energy drinks being sold in independent retailers. They seized more than 700 energy drinks, mainly imported cans, containing up to 300 mg of caffeine in a 423 ml can, equivalent to about 9 cans of Coca-Cola and almost double the legal maximum concentration allowed in Australia. Under the Food Standards Code, it is illegal to sell, manufacture or import an energy drink that exceeds 320 mg of caffeine per litre. Do the maths. 300 mg in 473 ml works out to roughly 634 mg per litre, nearly twice the legal ceiling. Inspectors also found other imported cans with around 200 ml of caffeine in 473 ml, which sits under the concentration limit but still piles a huge dose into a single drink. These weren't extreme pre-workout powders. They were canned energy drinks on shelves in the same fridges as legal products, with labels and branding similar to mainstream US-style 300 ml drinks. The front of the can suggests performance, zero sugar, maybe fitness. The concentration behind it flat out breaks Australian law in some cases and pushes the boundaries in others. If you've ever seen unfamiliar American-style 300 ml cans in small bottle shops or independent grocers, this is why health departments tell you to check labels and report suspicious products. And if that's what's happening with illegal imports, number 6 shows how another category tiptoes around the energy drink standard entirely. Number 6, pre-workout in a can and sports energy hybrids. There's a new wave of drinks that don't always call themselves energy drinks. They lean on words like performance, pre-workout, focus, or amino energy. By classifying as formulated supplementary sports foods instead of standard energy drinks, they can operate under different rules, but the caffeine load can still be high. Australian caffeine guidance notes that these sports foods must comply with strict limits and labelling, but the total per day, 1 day quantity can still be formulated up to around 200 ml of caffeine. So, what does that mean for you? It means you can walk into a supplement store or gym and grab a chilled performance can with roughly twice the caffeine of a standard 250 ml energy drink in a single hit. If you then stack that with a coffee, or worse, another energy drink later, you're cruising well past the 400 ml daily guideline most adults are advised not to exceed. The front of the can suggests sports science, amino acids and focus. The fine print often quietly warns you not to exceed 1 serving per day, warnings many shoppers never see. If you've ever smashed a pre-workout can and then topped up with a big energy drink after training, you've essentially done a caffeine double shot on your nervous system. And if sports foods are walking this line, number 7 is the product type that takes concentrated caffeine even further. Number 7, energy shots and mini bottles. In almost every servo and some supermarket checkouts, you'll see tiny bottles promising 5-hour energy, super shot, or extra strength boost. These are not standard 250 ml beverages. They're concentrated energy shots designed to be slammed in 1 or 2 gulps. Many contain caffeine doses similar to, or higher than, a full energy drink, just in a 50-60 ml package. Australian caffeine standards still apply to how much caffeine can be added depending on the product category, and labels must declare caffeine and carry advisory statements where required. But from the consumer side, the visual cue is all wrong. We instinctively think small equals light. In reality, small often equals concentrated, and these shots can deliver a rapid spike that hits much faster than sipping a 250 ml can over half an hour. The promotions suggest a tidy, discreet fix before a meeting, exam, or long drive. The dosing reality is a lot closer to an espresso-level hit stacked on top of your day's caffeine tally. If you've ever had a shot and an energy drink in the same afternoon, you've probably felt that shaky, wired sensation that tells you your nervous system is being pushed too far. And if shots can hide big doses in tiny bottles, number 8 shows how certain cans hide behind not for kids warnings while being aggressively picked up by teenagers anyway. Number 8, any big energy drink used by teens and kids. Health agencies across Australia are blunt. Energy drinks are not recommended for children, pregnant or breastfeeding women, and people sensitive to caffeine. The Food Standards Code requires that warning right on the can for formulated caffeinated beverages. Despite this, surveys and media reports show energy drinks are commonly consumed by teenagers, often combined with gaming, late-night study, and even with alcohol at parties. For kids and adolescents, the safe caffeine threshold is much, much lower than for adults. Food Standards Australia. New Zealand points out that intakes around 3 milligulls of caffeine per kilogram of body weight can trigger adverse effects like anxiety and sleep disruption in children. That means a 40-kilo teenager can start getting into risky territory at just 120 milligulls of caffeine, less than a single large 500 ml can. Yet those same teens can easily chain multiple cans while gaming or studying, often oblivious to the numbers on the label. The branding suggests fun, flavors, snowboarding, esports, and nightlife. The regulatory warning at the back is where the truth sits. Not recommended for children. If you've got energy drink cans turning up in school bags, lockers, or weekend sleepovers, this isn't about one naughty treat. It's about children using adult-level caffeine products in ways health authorities explicitly warn against. And if that's happening inside the legal framework, number 9 is the grey area where social media hype meets imported cans. Number 9, hype-driven imported brands with overseas caffeine controversies. In the last few years, ultra-hyped creator energy drinks have exploded on TikTok and Instagram. Overseas, brands like Prime Energy and others have already faced scrutiny and recalls because their cans exceeded local caffeine limits or failed to meet labeling standards. In Canada, for example, several energy drinks, including Prime Energy, were recalled because they exceeded the country's 100 pound per serving cap and breached labeling rules, with some cans containing around 200 ml of caffeine per serving. Authorities there warned these products should not be sold and told consumers not to drink, sell, or distribute them. In Australia, any energy drink sold legally must comply with the 300 to 20 milligram per litre concentration limit and local labelling rules. But health agencies have already shown that unauthorised imports and parallel imported cans can slip through, as seen in the South Australian seizures of high-caffeine US-style drinks. That means if you're buying trendy, imported cans from small retailers or online sellers, you cannot assume they match Australian formulations or legal caffeine levels. The social media pitch is simple. Clean energy. Better for you. Influencer approved. The regulatory reality is that some of these products have already crossed legal lines overseas, and similar high-caffeine formats have been found on Aussie shelves and removed. If you've ever hunted down a buzzy US energy drink in a little import shop, you're rolling the dice on whether that can actually complies with local caffeine law. And number 10 is where all of these threads come together in the worst possible way. Number 10, stacking multiple high-caffeine drinks across the day. The final brand to avoid isn't a single logo, it's a pattern. One big 500 ml can in the morning, a pre-workout can before the gym, an energy shot in the evening to grind out a deadline. FSANZ's safety assessment makes it clear. For a typical healthy adult, about 400 milligrams of caffeine per day from all sources combined is the upper level that's unlikely to cause adverse effects, and sensitive people feel problems well below that. Energy drinks were never meant to be your only caffeine source. They were designed as occasional, labeled products in a world where people also drink tea, coffee, and cola. But in real life, people stack. They have a long black, then a monster-style 500 ml, then a shot, then maybe another can. The labels say maximum 2 cans per day, or do not consume more than 1 serving. The promos and pricing quietly push you toward doing exactly the opposite. If you've ever gone through a day on 2 big cans plus coffee, you've almost certainly overshot what food safety authorities would consider sensible. And that's before adding illegal or mislabeled imports into the mix. So no, the problem isn't one sip of Red Bull will kill you. The problem is a system that pushes ultra-caffeinated, ultra-sweet products into everyday habits right up to and beyond the legal line, then leaves you to deal with the consequences. Now let's talk about options that are actually worth your time. After all that, it would be easy to think you have to live tired or wired. You don't. You just need energy sources that aren't sitting on a legal knife edge. 1. Real coffee or tea in sensible amounts. Food Standards Australia. New Zealand notes that an instant coffee or standard espresso can fit comfortably within a 400 ml per day framework for most adults, especially if you're not stacking it on top of energy drinks. A homemade coffee in a reusable cup gives you caffeine plus some ritual, without the neon additives, taurine cocktails, and borderline doses described in the energy drink standard. 2. Plain or lightly flavored sparkling water and electrolyte drinks with no added caffeine. Australian caffeine rules make it easy. If it's an energy drink or a caffeinated beverage, caffeine has to appear on the label, so simply choosing products with no caffeine listed keeps you clear. You still get something cold, fizzy, or hydrating in your hand, but without quietly burning through your caffeine budget for the day. 3. Actual sleep, food, and movement. FSANZ's safety work on caffeine keeps pointing out the obvious. Caffeine masks tiredness. It doesn't fix it. A proper meal, some sunlight, a walk, and an earlier bedtime will do more for your long-term energy than any can sitting at the servo. Energy drinks are supposed to be rare tools, not daily foundations. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to change the default. Swap the massive cans and mystery imports for smaller, clearer choices, or for actual rest. If this pulled back the curtain on what's really in those cans, it'd like so more Australians see it before their next servo run. Subscribe if you want more deep dives on the everyday foods and drinks that quietly rewrite your health, from kids' lunchboxes to late-night pick-me-ups. And tell us in the comments, which energy drink on this list shocked you the most? And what are you switching to the next time you need a boost?